time. We want to get through all the information. There we go. Waiting for the recording. We are recording. And just want to go through a little bit of housekeeping to start. My name is Kathy Fisher. I'm the Policy Director at the Greater Philadelphia Coalition Against Hunger. And I will introduce to you later Ann Sanders from Just Harvest. So we'll be the ones going over the P-EBT benefit tonight. So for those of you who are on Zoom, we just want to let you know we are also streaming to Facebook Live. None of your information will show, but we are doing that just to make you aware. And then also want to let people know if you want to use closed captioning, if you have not done this before, you can enable that in Zoom if you make your Zoom window maximized. And then down at the bottom of the screen, there is a CC button at the bottom, and that will enable you to have subtitles that would run across either the bottom of your screen, or you can use the view full transcript option, and that will put it on the right-hand side of the screen. So you can see what we're saying and follow along. And then one other housekeeping item, next slide, is that we are muting all participants because there's a lot of you out there, and we want to keep down the background noise. So to ask questions, we're asking that you ask them through this web form that is listed, the justharvest.org / that you can see on the screen. So for Zoom participants, there's a link in the green box, and for Facebook Live viewers, we're not able to monitor the video comments, so we want you to ask questions through this web form as well. So again, the links are there for the web form if you have questions to ask. And to get started, I'm going to hand things over to Ann Sanders at Just Harvest, and she's going to go through P-EBT for school-aged kids.
All right, welcome. Thanks, everyone. Before I go into P-EBT, I want to just tell a little bit about both Kathy and myself. So we both work for different nonprofits throughout the state of Pennsylvania. I'm at Just Harvest. We're based in Pittsburgh, and Kathy is at the Coalition to End Hunger, or Coalition Against Hunger. I'm going to say your organization in Philadelphia. And we do not work for the Department of Human Services or the Department of Education. We are here tonight to provide you with the best information that we have, but we wanted to let you know that we don't work for the state, so we cannot look up your particular information to answer specific questions about what is going on with your benefits. So just a little overview that we're going to be going over the information about the program, but we won't be able to help necessarily with a specific problem that you have. We can tell you what to do if you have problems, and we will do that. All right, and I'm not sure why that's going backwards. Here we go. Sorry. All right. Okay. So just as I just said, our aim today is to help you know what to expect with P-EBT and how to resolve issues if you experience them. So a little overview of what we'll be going over today. First, we'll talk a little bit about what is P-EBT, and we will also talk about which school kids will receive P-EBT and how and when those payments for school kids are going to go out, and how much those payments will be, which is a big question I know we all have, is how much should I expect? What to do when things go wrong. And then Kathy is going to be talking about P-EBT for kids ages 0 to 5, which is a new category that Congress added last fall. And we will also talk a little bit about P-EBT that will be coming to cover the summer months. So that's a little overview of what we'll be talking about in this next hour. As we mentioned earlier, if you are on Zoom, everyone's muted that's on Zoom. Please ask questions by going to justharvest.org /P-EBT questions. Facebook viewers, same thing. We're not going to be able to monitor the video comments as you put them in. So please, if you have questions that you want us to answer throughout this session, please go to that web form and submit your question there. All right, so what is P-EBT? P-EBT is a program that gives families money to purchase food because there's been disruptions in school schedules or childcare schedules. Funds are either put directly onto a family's SNAP EBT card or loaded onto a P-EBT card, a white P-EBT card like you see on the screen, that will be mailed to the family. A lot of folks who get SNAP will not get P-EBT on their SNAP card and will get a card mailed to them. It's something with the data matching that the state does. They don't, for some reason, it wasn't recognized that the student is on someone's SNAP case already. And so those folks are getting mailed a card. So if you receive SNAP and it's not on your SNAP card and you're wondering, where is my P-EBT? It's probably in the mail on its way to you. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that schedule looks like going in the future. We also want to let folks know that you can get P-EBT and still use grab-and-go meals at your school. During the summer months, you can still use the summer feeding programs that are in your area or other food assistance programs. It's not one or the other. You can use both to make sure that your family is well fed. We also want to make sure that folks know that using P-EBT does not impact anyone's immigration status. So if you are here on a visa and you want to apply for a green card in the future and you're worried about what P-EBT might mean for you or getting it or using it, it will not impact your immigration status. And also receiving SNAP, medical assistance, or other food assistance also does not affect immigration status anymore. So that is important and good news to know. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the school-age kids and which ones are actually eligible for P-EBT benefits. So there's two categories, as I mentioned. The first one is kids who are enrolled in schools that participate in the National School Lunch Program. And then Kathy later will be talking about the kids ages 0 to 5 who receive SNAP benefits. So we're going to go first and talk about the school-age kids. Fancy animation. All right. So which school kids will get P-EBT? First of all, there's no application for P-EBT. It's not something that you have to apply for to get. Benefits will be distributed based on information that your school has sent to the Department of Human Services. So your school would have sent your child's name, their address, their meal status if they're eligible for free or reduced price school meals, their learning schedule, as well as their birthday, which you need to activate the P-EBT card. So all of that information was provided. Someone very diligently at your school put that information together and sent it to Harrisburg so they could issue these benefits. So your child is eligible based on three things. One, your school has to participate in the National School Lunch Program. Your child would get free or reduced price lunch if schools were fully open, and your child has attended school virtually sometime this year. It could be a mixed schedule, sometimes at home, sometimes at school, but basically there had to be a disruption and your school year was not normal. So let's talk a little bit about the first piece, which is that the school has to participate in the National School Lunch Program. So kids will not qualify if they are enrolled in the cyber charter school. Those do not participate in the National School Lunch Program. They normally do not provide meals to students. They won't be eligible if they're homeschooled or if they're in some other private school that does not participate in the National School Lunch Program. So that's something to keep in mind. Two is that your child would normally receive free or reduced price meals if schools were operating normally. So if your school had been open all the time, would they have gotten free or reduced price meals? So that would happen if you completed an application with your school, or if your child gets SNAP or medical assistance or is a foster child, and so they were automatically enrolled in free school meals. Or this year, they're carrying over the eligibility from the 2019 and 2020 school year. So if you got P-EBT for your child last year, they're still enrolled at a school that participates in the National School Lunch Program, and you had a disruption in your learning, you'll be eligible for the P-EBT this round that's going out right now. And you are also signed up for free or reduced price meals if your child is at a school that participates in CEP, which is a school that offers free meals to all students. If you got P-EBT last year, your child is still at that school, like I said, you will get it again this year. You're already signed up. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about CEP schools. All students that go to a CEP school are eligible for P-EBT. For example, my kids go to Pittsburgh Public Schools. Pittsburgh Public Schools has always provided free meals for all their kids. They participate in this community eligibility provision. And so all of the kids at Pittsburgh Public Schools are going to be getting P-EBT. CEP is this provision that allows districts where a lot of kids are signed up for SNAP or medical assistance. And so those kids are all automatically signed up for free meals. And so there's a lot of kids in the school district that are already getting free meals. And so they just give free meals to everyone. It is not what is happening this year. So a lot of school districts this year are providing free meals to everyone through special pandemic rules. That's not the same thing as CEP, and it doesn't make those students eligible. So if you're wondering which one it is, I recommend going to your school district website and looking at information about meals at your school district. So this is an example that I found from Hanover Public School District. They have a little bit of information on their website, and you can kind of see it says USDA approved school waivers. Whoops. We are providing free meals to all children ages 18 and under that reside in the school district. And then it also says we are still encouraging families to apply for free or reduced price meals and how to apply. So this is a school district that is not a CEP school, but is providing free meals. So if you aren't certain if everyone in your school is getting free meals this year and you're not sure which one it is, I recommend going to your school district website, checking and looking if you aren't sure. All right. And it is not too late. You can still apply for free or reduced price school meals. You can do that through, most school districts have a link on their website. Some have like a simple 2-page form. Everyone in the state can apply using the state's online application, which is at compass.state.pa.us. I'm just going to remind everyone, this is not a special application for P-EBT. If you're going to look for an application, it is the free or reduced price school meals application. All right, and then lastly, this is the third point, your child has to be attending school virtually, either some of the time or all of the time. So this eligibility is going to be based on a month-by-month basis. We'll kind of get into that more when we talk about the payments. But basically, if your student, you're going to want to think about which category of these 3 categories your student was in for each month. They were either fully in person, which means every school day, school was open and your child attended school in person. Fully virtual, your school was not open or you opted into virtual learning for that month. For the entire month, your child never went into the school building that whole month, did all of their learning remotely. And then there's this blended or hybrid model, which is literally any combination of in-person or virtual learning for the month. So this is some examples of blended and hybrid learning schedules. This is like a weekly schedule. Your child is home 3 days a week and 2 days a week they go to school, and that's their schedule every week. That is an example of a hybrid schedule. Another example would be your child learns remotely 1 week and then they're in school the following week. That is also another example of blended or hybrid. And then this is another example. Your kid was home for 3 weeks and then your school opened up and you very happily sent them off to school for the next week. That is also a hybrid example. So you can see that hybrid literally means any combination of remote learning and in-school learning. It's not one particular schedule. It's just a catch-all category that means any combination of being at home and being in school during the same month. So I'm going to do a little example here about eligibility. So Rachel has 2 children. She's got a 7-year-old and 11-year-old. They got SNAP benefits last year. They're no longer getting SNAP benefits. And both children got P-EBT last year. Now, her daughter that's in 2nd grade, she's at the same school as last year, and her son switched to a school that's not in the school meal program. Both schools were part remote and part in person. Will her children both get P-EBT this year? So only her daughter is going to get P-EBT benefits. She qualified last year, and that carries over to this year. But her son went to a different school that doesn't provide meals, so he doesn't qualify. So she's only going to get it for one of her kids this year. Here's another example thinking about eligibility. So Marcus has 2 daughters, 8 and 17, both got P-EBT last year. His 17-year-old high school has been part remote and part in person. And his 8-year-old elementary school has been fully open and in person for the entire school year. But the family had to quarantine for 2 weeks in December, and her learning was virtual for those 2 weeks. But all the rest of the time, she was in school. Will they both get P-EBT this year? Well, the 17-year-old will get P-EBT benefits for each month, but the 8-year-old will only get it for that 1 month where she was quarantining. So that's sort of how to think about it, is that even if your kids were on different learning schedules, their eligibility might be different on a month-by-month basis or which schools they were going to. All right, so I'm going to take a little break from talking and see if we have any questions. Emily, would you like to ask?
Yeah. Hey, everybody.
Questions?
Sure thing. So we have had some questions come in, some really good ones. And one of those is, would a kid who is in cyber school through their school district qualify for P-EBT? Maybe you could talk about the difference between cyber school and virtual school, Anne?
Yeah, sure. So if your child, their enrollment is at a brick and mortar school, but the school is just virtual for that year, they will be eligible. If your school district has a specific school that is a cyber school and you switched enrollment to that cyber school, you would not be eligible. So it's a little confusing because, well, a lot of folks opted for all virtual learning this year, but we're still technically enrolled at a brick and mortar school. But some folks may have switched and said, I'm just going to the district cyber school. And so those will be treated differently.
And if you want to take another question, sorry, go ahead. I thought someone was jumping in. Okay, so if you have a child aged under 5 who goes to who goes to an early childhood program that goes remote, will they be eligible for P-EBT?
So most early childhood programs throughout the state do not participate in the National School Lunch Program. Our public schools is different. Our early childhood programs are actually through the National School Lunch Program. And so those kids would be eligible for P-EBT, but the vast majority of early childhood programs use a different funding source to pay for meals and are not considered P-EBT eligible. So it really depends on that early childhood learning program.
Okay, no further questions at this time.
Okay. All right. We're going to go on to the really important questions. How am I going to get P-EBT? When will I get it? And how much will I get? So if you get SNAP benefits, the state will try to put P-EBT benefits onto your SNAP card. But again, if it didn't match for whatever reason, you'll be mailed a P-EBT card, which I know is super frustrating because everyone's been waiting for this for a really long time. And to know that you're going to have to wait for a card to show up in the mail when you have a SNAP card seems absurd. But that is unfortunately the case for lots of folks that get SNAP. You will be waiting for a card in the mail. If you do not receive SNAP, you will definitely be getting a card in the mail. You will get one card for each eligible child. Last year, lots of folks had them combined. Some ended up getting multiple cards for each child. No one really knew what to expect, if they were missing a benefit, what happened there, if it was still coming, or if there was an error. So this year, same rule for everybody. Every student that's eligible is getting a card in the mail. I just said this, kids are not going to be combined under one card as they were last year. It was confusing and created lots of errors. All payments will be posted to this new card, so hold on to the card. There's more than one payment of P-EBT coming, so make sure that you keep this new card that is coming. And the mailing of cards began mid-May. The last batch should be hitting everyone's mailboxes by the end of June. So the cards are mailed from Texas. That is where these lovely white cards, which is over here, these lovely white cards are printed and mailed from Texas. So that is where, that is why it takes so long, because the mail from Texas to here sometimes takes 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how the post office wants to run. So what to look out for? You're going to be getting an envelope. It's going to have your child's name on it and your address, and a Texas return envelope. It will be a plain white envelope. It might look like junk mail. Don't throw it out. Open it up, because it might be your P-EBT card. And waiting to get another one printed and mailed to you will take another month if you go to request a replacement card. So check your mail. When you see something that looks like junk mail that's from Texas, open it up just in case. When will P-EBT come? As I mentioned, there is going to be more than one payment. There'll be 3 payments to cover this past school year. So this first payment that's going out now is going to be for September, October, and November. In June, there will be another payment for December and January and February. And then in July, we'll see a 3rd payment to cover March and April and May. We're probably wondering, why don't I see June on here? And the reason is that they just put 20 days in each month, even though we all had winter break or spring break or whatever. Every month is just the standard 20 days. And so that ends up being 180 days when you do 9 months. So that's why that's like that. It also makes it easier when I talk about the actual dollar amount. So because there's a standard 20-day week, it's going to be standard flat rate for each month. For a month where your child was fully virtual, that means at home or learning remotely every day that month, the benefit for that month will be $136.40. If your child was fully in school, remember, they're not eligible. They didn't miss any school meals that month. So they're going to get $0 for that month. They won't be eligible. And any combination, remember we talked about the 3rd blended hybrid category, that's literally any combination of remote learning and in-person learning, that will be $88.66 per month. This might change in the July payment, but that's what it will be for this first payment in May and the second payment in June. So as we mentioned, eligibility goes on a month-by-month basis. And this first payment is going to cover the first 3 months of the school year, September, October, and November. So if in September, October, and November, your child was learning remotely the entire time, you will get $409.20. That's what 3 virtual months adds up to. If they were doing a blended model all 3 months, that's going to be $265.98. And then you can kind of see there's all these other combinations that could happen. You'd be like virtual 1 month and hybrid 2 months, and all kinds of other things could happen. The point is that it's going to depend based on your child's learning schedule. So comparing your benefits with other folks' benefits might not be helpful. You want to figure out what to expect based on what you remember your child's learning schedule to be. So we're going to do some examples here. So Donna has 2 kids, ages 6 and 14. Both attend a CEP school, and she does not receive SNAP benefits. Her 6-year-old was in school all of September and October, but the schools closed mid-November. They just shut the schools down. Her 14-year-old, their high school was 100% virtual the entire fall. He never set foot in his school building the entire time. So how much will she get for this first payment? So she's going to get 1 card for each child because she doesn't receive SNAP benefits. For the 6-year-old, she's going to get the virtual amount for September and for October. And then for November, since this, I just realized I did this example wrong. It should be 0 and 0 and then $88.66 for a total of $88.66 because she was in school for all of September and October and schools closed in November. And then for the 14-year-old, he was virtual the whole time. So it'll be the virtual amount for all 3 months for a total of $409.20. So again, you can kind of, first of all, you can see that even I messed this up. It's something, so you want to take your own kids' learning schedules and think about which category they fall into for each month, and then you'll know how much you should get for each kid. Here's a payment, another example. Hopefully I did the math right on this one. Maya has 3 children, Martin, Mary, and Michael, and she receives SNAP benefits. So Martin and Mary were fully in person in September. They switched to virtual learning mid-October, and they stayed virtual for all of November. And then Michael was in a blended model of learning in September and then switched to all virtual learning mid-October and stayed virtual for all of September. So how much will she get for her first P-EBT payment? So Martin, they were in person in September, so that's $0. They switched to virtual mid-October, so that month is split. That's hybrid, so that's $88.66, and then virtual in November. And then Mary had the exact same learning schedule, so they both are going to get $225.06. And then for Michael, he's going to have the hybrid amount for the first 2 months, and then the full virtual amount. And then you can see that it's $765.06 onto the SNAP card. So that's, or maybe that's 86 cents onto the SNAP card. I don't know why I can't read that. You can kind of see how this all gets added up, and then it's one deposit onto the card. So I'm just gonna do a little recap here because I know that was a lot. This is just a recap about all of the information for the school age kids. The benefits are gonna be issued based on information that your state provided, that your school provided to the state, and there's still time to apply for free or reduced price meals. Benefits will be coming on cards. The last cards will arrive by the end of June, and you will get 1 card for each child, and that there's going to be 3 payments to cover the school year. So keep your card because all future payments are going to post to the same card. All right, who has questions about the payment amounts or payment schedule?
Okay, so we have 3 audience questions that I want to share with you guys. The first is just a point of clarification. Is the case that everyone that is eligible for P-EBT will receive a new card?
Yes, they are not reusing cards from last year at all. So everyone is going to be getting a new card.
Unless they are on SNAP, correct?
Unless they are on SNAP, and then in which case it might post to their SNAP card. Yeah.
Okay. If you have a food stamp card that is not active, will you still get your P-EBT benefits on that card?
No, you have to have an active SNAP case for the school age kids. And this will get complicated when we talk about the younger kids, but for the school age kids, you will get a card mailed to you if you no longer have an active SNAP case.
Okay. Last question. If a child is truant or marked absent, will they be eligible for benefits?
The eligibility amount is not based on whether or not someone's absent or present in school for the day. It's based on the learning model that they are signed up for with their school.
Okay, great. That's it for now.
All right. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what to do when things go wrong, because we know sometimes things go wrong. So the Department of Human Services has online a P-EBT inquiry form, and I think we'll drop the link into the chat for that as well. It's posted on the Facebook stream, so you can go to that link. It asks some pretty basic questions like what your specific issue is, comments so you can, tell them exactly what's going wrong with your situation. Like, hey, I only got the hybrid amount, but we had opted into virtual learning and that's the wrong benefit amount. And then it'll ask you for your information and address. If you have an EBT card, so they could post the benefits to the EBT card. And then information about each of your children, just their name, birth date, and school. So very basic information, nothing like super personal, like they're not asking for social security numbers or anything like that. The other way to give this information is to call this phone number that is on the screen and leave a voicemail with basically that same information that I just went over in terms of your children, their birth date, the school district they attend, and a description of the issue, all of that good stuff. I personally recommend filling out the online form. I just know from listening to people's voicemails, sometimes it's really hard to know how kids' names are spelled or make out the exact name of the school district. Sometimes it's hard to make out phone numbers, things like that. So I personally think it's better to fill out the form online, but the state has said that they're treating them both equally. And now I'm going to give some examples of the many questions that we get. So the first one that we've gotten a lot is, it didn't post to my SNAP card because benefits were supposed to be going out starting May 10th over a 10-day period. It's been 10 days. Why didn't it post to my SNAP card? And the answer is that there was probably an error matching it with your child's school information with your SNAP case, and a card is being mailed to you. The state would like you to wait until the end of June before you fill out their web portal form. They are still in the process of hiring and training their customer service workers. And so there's a very long delay in getting back to folks, of which they told me was about 30 days, which we can talk about that later. Maybe not on Facebook Live in front of people, but yeah, 30 days is what they said. And another common question is, I just moved. My school definitely does not have my right address. What should I do? So if you set up mail forwarding with the post office, it should, in theory, be forwarded to you. But if that's not an option, you can go to the inquiry form, fill that out with your correct address. The state has said that they're not mailing out any replacement cards until July, which is, after everyone should have gotten their card. So that's what you should do if you just recently moved and your school didn't provide the correct address. Another common question is we opted into online learning, but I didn't get the full virtual amount. Again, you'd want to report the issue. You want to say that you got the improper benefit amount, and then in this section, be as specific as you can about your child's learning schedule. The state will then contact your school to verify the learning schedule, and then they can issue the additional benefit. So there will be a delay in getting that corrected because it has to go back to your school, and then your school has to say that's right, and then it goes back. So that can take a couple of weeks to clear up, but you should certainly report that issue if that happens. And folks who never got P-EBT from last year, and like, wait, I didn't get this last year. You can still request for DHS to look into what happened using the same web form or phone number. You want to make sure that you specify that you're talking about spring of 2020 and provide all of the same information, and also make sure that you say the name of the school that your child went to last year, not this year. But they're still resolving issues from last summer. So all hope is not lost. All right, does anyone have any questions about what to do if things go wrong?
Yeah, so we have one or two questions. So the first question is, what if you got P-EBT? What if all your children go to the same school district and you get P-EBT for your middle school kids, but maybe not your elementary child? Why would that be the case?
It could be that they were on different forms. It could be that one is coming in the mail because maybe the school district noted that your middle school child was on your SNAP case, but they didn't quite have it lined up right with your food stamp case for the younger kids. I would probably report it just because it seems like they go to the same school district. So I would think that it would have matched up. The other issue is, obvious, is that the learning schedule for the elementary school may have been different. So I'm assuming in this case, the elementary school kids were not learning in person in September and October and November, but if they were learning in person during those months, then they wouldn't be eligible. So they may also have had different learning schedules.
Okay, and we have another question that goes back to the prior section. If you had a child who was doing in-person schooling, but then they had to quarantine because they were exposed to COVID at school, does that count for getting P-EBT benefits, that virtual learning that they have to do for quarantine?
Yes, that should count. I'm going to assume that month ended up being split between in-person and virtual learning. So that would be considered a hybrid month. So as long as that child was eligible for free or reduced price school meals, which we'd also talked about, but as long as they were eligible for free or reduced price school meals, that would make the child eligible for P-EBT.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. And now I'm going to turn this over to Kathy to talk about P-EBT for SNAP for kids ages 0 to 5.
Hi, everyone. I know it's a long slog. We're going through a lot of information, so just stick with us. This part is shorter, but I just want to remind people that there are 500 school districts in Pennsylvania and almost 1 million kids getting P-EBT. So, and more when you count the little kids. So it's a big program that's still really new. So we know it's very, very frustrating, but again, it's that whole hang in there and hopefully things will get sorted out if we all give it time. So P-EBT for kids age 0 to 5 is really P-EBT for kids who are in SNAP households. So the next slide, yeah. So this slide will tell you there are 2 things that make a child age 0 to 5 eligible for P-EBT. And that is if the child is getting SNAP, right? They're in a SNAP household, they're on your SNAP case, and that they've received SNAP at some point since October 1. And then the second requirement is that schools in your area were either operating virtually either part of the year or the whole year, this school year, right? If the schools in your area were fully open, then it doesn't really show that there weren't childcare is closed. Like they're judging the way things are open or closed by the schools in the area. Next slide. So again, go back to the first point is that children ages 0 to 5 who are in a SNAP household will be eligible, but it's only since October 1, not September. That might seem weird because, you know, kids in school, it's since September, but that's because Congress changed this later. They added the younger kids. Younger kids were not included in P-EBT last spring, as Anne had mentioned, and now they are, which is a good thing, but it starts as of October 1. And now one of the things we really want you to know is it's not too late, right? If you think you're eligible for SNAP, but you haven't applied because the county assistance offices are closed, or it just seemed like, I don't know if it's worth it. If you have a child age 0 to 5 and you think you might be eligible for SNAP, you should apply. You won't be able to get P-EBT for the whole year, for all the way back to October, but you will be able to get some P-EBT benefits if your family is eligible and your child, you know, is on your SNAP case. It is worth applying. So you can see on the screen there, you can apply on the Compass website. There is a 1-866 number, that is the state's line where you can apply for SNAP. And then there are community partners like our organizations, the Coalition Against Hunger, Just Harvest, have call lines. And there is a link in the chat that will list the organizations around the state who can help you apply for SNAP over the phone. Next slide. So the second thing is, again, schools in your area had to have been operating either virtually for full-time or sometime during the school year. Again, because this is for younger kids, they don't really go to school. I mean, sure, some children go to pre-K, but really the P-EBT benefit is to make up for meals kids lost in childcare. There were many childcares that provided meals, but there is no way to track and verify which childcares were closed. You know, we think 500 school districts was a lot. To try to track what happened with all the childcares in the state is nearly impossible, especially because since many of them shut down with COVID. So that is why P-EBT for younger kids is being tied to SNAP, because it's a way to easily identify you know, which families would likely be eligible for free meals if their child were enrolled in either a childcare or, you know, a pre-K program that would have been providing them meals. So the good thing is the state is going to look and see, was there any school district in your county or the county next to yours that was virtual or completely remote, right? They're realizing some people work in a different county than where they live. So it's not tied necessarily to the school district where you live, whether it was closed or virtual or hybrid. It's any school in your area. So that's the second requirement. Okay, next slide. And of course, how much will you get is, you know, the important part that people want to know is how many dollars in P-EBT am I going to get? And that's when we go back to this, the whole scenarios, all the different scenarios that Anne went through is, well, were the schools in your area fully virtual, right? If there were just school districts that were fully virtual, then your child, your young child will get the full amount for the month that they were enrolled in SNAP, right? If the schools near you were in a blended or hybrid model, you will get that hybrid amount, that $88.66. But if you're in an area where schools were fully open, which I find that hard to believe really anywhere in the state was fully open all year. Like chances are there's many school districts in your area that were at least hybrid for a good part of the school year. So that is probably a less likely scenario for the 0 to 5 kids, that there were schools that were fully open in and around your area. It's most likely that blended, you'll get either the blended or the virtual, the fully virtual amount for each month that your child was on SNAP. Okay, next slide. So when will you get these, right? When will the SNAP benefits for kids age 0 to 5 go out? They are on a different schedule than the schedule for K to 12 kids, which of course, right, making things even more complicated and figuring out when dollars show up. But the easier thing about this is that because it's kids on SNAP, no one's getting mailed a P-EBT card for these young children. These payments will load to the household SNAP card. The first payment will be going out in early June, so just around the corner from now. They will be going out by June 5th. And again, that, there's less of a wait time when things can get automatically loaded to those cards and you're not waiting for the mail. The second payment will be in July. And I'm sorry, I forgot to say the first payment covers just October and November. The second payment will cover December, January, and February. And the third payment, which will go out in August, will cover March, April, and May. Again, so it's just like the school age kids, it is broken into 3 different payments to cover the year, but they'll lag slightly behind the dollars that are coming, the P-EBT benefits that are coming for the school age kids. Now, there's a chance, say you were on SNAP earlier in the year, so your young child is eligible for P-EBT for those months, but you no longer have your SNAP card, right? If you got a job and you were happy and tossed your SNAP card because you were no longer in the program, that's not going to help right now if they're loading P-EBT if they have to send, load your P-EBT benefits to a card. So if that's the case, you can call the customer service center. There's 2 numbers on the slide there, and let them know what the situation is. Say I was on SNAP from October through March. I just had my SNAP case closed in April and I no longer have the card, but I will be getting P-EBT for my young child. I need to have a new card. And I'm sorry, I just realized on the slide that the 215 number that's there is also a call center that is specifically for Philadelphia. So we can drop that call number in the chat. Just have to track it down. Okay. And we will add more details as we, if there are more things to explain about the kids 0 to 5, there's a little bit more the state is working out about past payments. We will post that information to the Just Harvest website and to the fact sheets. We want to stop for questions now, see if there are any questions about young children.
Hey, Kathy, yes, we have 2 questions for you. So is P-EBT in addition to the SNAP benefits that you are already receiving, and will it affect your SNAP eligibility?
Yes, it is in addition to SNAP benefits. This is a separate benefit program, and it is specifically to make up for meals the child is missing out on, whether childcare or pre-K. So it is separate from your SNAP benefit. And no, it will not affect your SNAP eligibility. P-EBT is not considered income for any program you're applying for. You don't have to report it as income when you are, applying. If you're applying for Medicaid or applying for SNAP, it will not affect those benefits.
Okay, the second question is, what if you have a child who was 5 years old but was in kindergarten and turned 6 over the course of this year? What distribution schedule for P-EBT will they be on?
Right. So if your 5-year-old was in kindergarten at a school district school that provided the National School Lunch Program, then they will get P-EBT through the K-12 system that Anne talked about earlier in the presentation. So that, if the child was in kindergarten and the school year, it's based on whether their learning model was virtual or hybrid and for what months. So all those kind of combinations that Anne went through, you have to look at what the situation was for your child, and and that will help you figure out exactly how much they are getting. And same thing, if you're on SNAP, it will come on the SNAP card. If the kindergartner was not on SNAP, it will come on a P-EBT card. And I guess the only sometimes confusing thing about that is if your child was in pre-K, right? So most school districts, the pre-K program actually does not use the National School Lunch Program. So that's where, a child, if they're on SNAP, would get P-EBT, but if they are not on SNAP, they may not qualify for P-EBT if they're not missing out, if they're in a school and they're not missing out on National School Lunch Program meals, then they're not eligible. So that's a little bit confusing, but.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, so next slide, we will go a little bit into P-EBT for summer, which is actually a good thing. We get to end on a more positive note. Congress did much more recently, before they decided about P-EBT for the school year, they decided to extend P-EBT for summer. So next slide is going to go through all the details, and some of the details for summer are still being worked out. So again, we will continue to update the materials we have online, but any child, both the K-12 kids who were receiving free and reduced price meals at school or got P-EBT for the school year will be eligible for summer. So if you sign up for National School Lunch Program this month in the end of May, and that means you're eligible for the school years, it means you'll be eligible for the summer. Any kid who is at a CEP school, all kids who got P-EBT during the school year will be eligible for summer. And that includes kids who are graduating, like seniors who graduate. If they got P-EBT during the school year, they will be getting P-EBT for the summer. Kids age 0 to 5. So the kids I just talked about who are on a SNAP household, if they're signed up for SNAP benefits at any point during the summer, they will get the full summer benefit. So summer P-EBT is June, July, and August. It's those 3 months. From what we know, those 3 months will be issued all in one payment and probably later in the summer. Those are the details we're waiting to find out from the state, is exactly how they plan to do summer P-EBT. But the good thing is we don't have to worry about virtual, hybrid, all that confusing stuff for summer, because we know in the summer schools are closed. So the amount of P-EBT will be the same for your school age child, your young child, if you're on SNAP, the amounts for as long as you're enrolled in SNAP, your young child is enrolled in SNAP at some point during the summer, they will get all 3 months, and same with the school age children. And we do want to remind people it includes babies who are born during the summer. So if you know someone who has a baby who's on SNAP, they should call and make sure that baby is added to the SNAP case right away. And then that child will also be eligible for P-EBT in the summer. And again, we don't know when it's coming yet, but also want to remind you, it's not too late. If you think you might be eligible for SNAP and you have a young child, don't miss out on the SNAP benefits. In and of themselves, it's good, to help support your ability to buy more at the grocery store. But by enrolling in SNAP, you will not only get the SNAP benefit, but your young child will qualify for P-EBT. And I think we are ready to wrap up.
We're closing in on 8 o'clock here, but I think I have 2 final questions for you. One is sort of a general troubleshooting question. So there was some frustration because folks were told or read or heard that the cards were going to get, the P-EBT benefits were going to start getting issued May 10th, and that would happen within 10 days. And those 10 days have come and gone. So at what point should people feel like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble and I didn't get my benefits?
Well, again, I think that, the hard part is May 10th is when all the information was getting sent to the this place in Texas, this place that's doing the benefits. And then because it is so many families and so many kids that these benefits are being issued to, they have to do little chunks at a time. So that is part of the delay. And I do think the bigger challenge is the waiting for the mail and waiting for and not knowing. If you're on SNAP and you think, well, it should have loaded to my SNAP card, but unfortunately, if your school district, something in the data didn't match up where they couldn't match your child to the proper SNAP case, then the option that they had was, we're going to mail a P-EBT card for that child. And that does make the process take longer. So again, I'm very sorry for people's frustration. And I'm even more sorry that if you're reporting problems to the portal or the state call line, the fact that right now they're not staffed up enough to get back to people quickly. We hope that they will be, but that's kind of unfortunately the best thing I can say. I don't know if Anne has anything to add.
No, I think it's just important to remember that cards should arrive by the end of June. So don't panic if it's like June 10th and you haven't gotten your card yet, because the EBT company may have just literally put your card into the mail 5 days ago. So, and they take 2 to 3 weeks to arrive. So try not to panic, hang in there. I know it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy. But the other thing I would mention is that company that's sending all these cards is not just doing Pennsylvania. There are very few companies in the whole country that do this. So unfortunately, they're, doing the million kids or whatever, like tons in Pennsylvania, but they're also handling this process for many other states. And again, not to say that makes it any easier, but that is part of why.
Okay, and we have one final question, which is, will these benefits or the P-EBT cards have expiration dates?
Well, that is a very good question. So once you activate your card, that is sort of when the clock starts. I guess I don't know how to describe this. Once you activate the card, you need to use your card regularly. If you stop using your card, like say you misplace it and then don't find it again until next year, the benefits will be taken off. The benefits will be taken off 9 months of non-use. So if you activate the card, don't use it at all for 9 months, the benefits will be taken off. If you never activate your card, they will also take the benefits off after 9 months. But if the issue is that you never got a card in the first place, they can reinstate those. But generally speaking, you want to use your benefits regularly so that you can maintain access to them.
Yeah, so you can spread them out because we know you're getting, it's going to be kind of a chunk, especially if you have a few you have, it's a lot because it's covering from so far back when we wish you would have been getting them. But so you can spread it out over that 9 months. And you might even want to activate one child to use that one first, activate the next, and like that is also a strategy to stretch them out. But also I would just add that if you're getting the benefits on your SNAP card, right, that can also be complicated. And if there's some extra SNAP dollars going out now too, you may suddenly have a lot of dollars to spend on your SNAP card. Your SNAP card amazingly is smart and it knows to spend the P-EBT funds first, so that you don't have to worry as much about that timeline. Like it will draw down the P-EBT dollars first, and then your SNAP funds on your SNAP card, like say you're getting SNAP and you get a good chunk of benefits on the card, and then you don't need SNAP anymore. You've gotten a job, but you really can still stretch those benefits and use them for many months. SNAP benefits actually, as long as you're using your card once every 3 months, like as long as there's activity, those benefits will stay on there. They will not be pulled off, the SNAP benefits. So again, it'll allow you to spend your P-EBT first and then stretch out those SNAP benefits if you're getting a significant amount of SNAP at once, which we know some people are right now.
Great, thank you so much.
And I think that's all we have. We do actually have many, many more slides that tell you about how to activate your card and other kind of nitty-gritty details that we felt like we just couldn't cover in a reasonable amount of time, but we will make that information available. Anne, you want to hand those things out?
No, I just want to say thanks everyone for coming, for watching, for asking really great questions. If we didn't get to your question tonight, we will be responding to the questions that were submitted through the form. Thank you again for being here, and
thank you to Pennsylvania Budget
for being patient, because we've been waiting for so long for these to come out. Yes. Yeah, and there are resources posted onto our website, the FAQ sheet webpage that we've mentioned before. So this will also will live on Facebook, so you can come back and watch it later if you forget information. So feel free to use and share these resources with other folks that you know who have questions or concerns about P-EBT.
And one last thank you to Pennsylvania Budget and Policy Center, which I should have said at the start of the program. It's thanks to them that we were able to host a much bigger number of people tonight. So thank you to them.
Thanks, glad to help out. And thanks for all the great work that Coalition Against Hunger, Just Harvest, and all the other organizations do.
Bye, everyone.